Welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, William Liu, and I am joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong, who has mercifully prepared the first segment for us to talk about the NBA at large rather than just the Raptors. Don't worry, we will still get to Raptors trade talk in the second half because this is just what the show is nowadays.
21 days left until the trade deadline.
But in the first half, let's talk about the rest of the NBA. Because, look, listen, as much as the Raptors have been pretty depressing, just like the weather outside, and it's making you sort of reconsider what basketball in Toronto looks like. Basketball in the NBA, I think, has been really fun this season. So,
yeah, we need
a chance to talk about it.
We need the WNBA to come here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, for real.
Need a winning product.
I mean, yeah.
You know? No, it was thought, because we're at around the midseason mark, can catch up on the NBA.
Right.
Talk about the teams that I've watched, that I've gambled on, and
I know.
Answer the big questions.
First off, check out the sweater, okay? It's heat today.
Yeah.
It's cold in the studio, but it's heat on
there's
the
been
left side.
3 days of sunlight this month. Honestly, it's been kind of tough. But anyways, before we even get to, I just prepared kind of like the biggest questions, for the rest of the season. But just wanted to ask you just like biggest themes and like takeaways when you think about this season so far. And, for me, the two things is just looking at the standings. There's just so much parity around the league. And the other thing to me is just the explosion in just the individual scoring, right?
Yeah.
Like 40's become the new 30, 30's the new 20, shouts to Hove. And like, I don't know, like we used to get really excited when a player went for 45, 50. And it really does seem like now it's happening like on a nightly basis.
Yeah, no, I think those are definitely the top two themes for me as well in terms of parity across the league. It was pretty apparent, like just weeks into the season, that so many teams were going to be jumbled up. And I would say the bottom end of being jumbled up is like where the Raptors are right now, kind of the same thing as where the Lakers are right now, both of them at 20 and 25, the Bulls in that area. And then I think even the upper end in terms of teams jumbled up, like, today I opened up the standings and you look at like Sacramento is third in the Eastern and in the West right now. They're third. Sacramento is third. And they're on a 5-game win streak. But, I mean, I would say, like, up to Dallas, let's say, at 24 and 22, they lost last night to Atlanta. There's just so many teams. Like, it's like, I don't know, man, 15 teams in the league, essentially, in that range.
There's 14 teams, which is half the league, basically, within 5 games of 500, basically, up or down.
Yeah, which, to me, it's just like,
including the Raptors.
That's where the next month is going to give a lot of clarity, because I don't think after the next month.
Is it, though? You think it'll give clarity? I feel like a lot of teams are still going to be in this space.
When you're kind of in this position, like, you really got to choose a direction. Like, the Raptors, obviously, like, a very, very clear example of that.
We're going to try to not talk about the Raptors.
Okay, fair. But
use another example.
Like the Chicago Bulls are a clear example of that.
They are just like the Raptors.
Ahead of a team that plays professionally in Toronto, who are in Minnesota tonight. But, like, you have to choose that direction. I mean, obviously the explosion in scoring is one thing. I think it just speaks to me like how much talent is in the league right now. I don't even think it's necessarily like teams not necessarily playing great defense. I think some of the rule changes obviously affect that, but just the talent in the league is at a really, really great place. But then the other thing too is just like part of the parity being so strong is like even with like a generational clear-cut talent like Victor Wembanyama as, the main prize, but also even Scoot Henderson, who would probably go number one in most other drafts as well. There's only 4 teams to me that are like clear-cut tanking. Like Charlotte, Detroit, San Antonio, and Houston. Houston, by the way, lost 12 straight.
Charlotte's not even tanking, man. Charlotte's just 12 and 34
Charlotte's
while
just
trying.
Yeah.
So.
No, I can't wait for the Charlotte Hornets to end up with the 9th pick again
But,
and draft another shooting guard,
by the way,
which is what they do.
as you know, I like to update the Raptors schedule manually into my spreadsheet.
Right.
And I was updating the rest of the season yesterday. There's another back-to-back against the Hornets in April. Yeah. In Charlotte.
Oh.
So just, anybody making plans for the first week of January, just, make sure you clear space for that.
No, I know JR's going to set a reminder on his phone right now to start Mason Plumlee for that. We got the world's biggest Mason Plumlee fan producing
back
the Reaction Podcast.
Back-to-back against the Hornets in the last week of the season.
That could be important for tanking, I suppose.
I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. Going to be Joe Wee's camp.
But yeah, no, there's only 4 teams that are definitively right now tanking.
Yes. So you said Charlotte.
More teams will jump into that mix. I think Orlando is also...
Orlando's kind of
like...
like...
in that mix, but they're also like playing really spirited basketball each time I watch them. So
Plus, they
I
have
think
a lot of young talent. Like, not saying
Yeah.
that they shouldn't get in the lottery and get another
Sure,
pick, but like, I feel like compared to like Charlotte, like the Orlando roster actually has a lot of guys already, right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Banchero, Franz. How's Jalen Suggs doing? He's okay.
He's balding prematurely.
Okay.
These are my
I was
takeaways
asking
sometimes. watching
how
the
he was
Magic.
balling. You said how he's balding. Okay.
We stay fly.
Oh my
Fly.
God. Whoa.
Balding.
Yeah, it's weird. You're right though, because you talk about this like top of the draft.
Yep.
And I think coming into the season, you would have expected there would be more teams that were
Yeah,
like
yeah,
outright
exactly.
tanking. We haven't
Yeah.
seen that.
Well, I mean, I think we will see that. The trade deadline is going to be pretty determinant in terms of who jumps into that direction. Like we saw the Raptors do that in Tampa, right?
Mm.
And
But a lot of teams are trying to win right now. Like I even look at like Minnesota, Portland,
Yep.
Phoenix, like the teams that are close that could tank. Like only Washington is kind of another team to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Like everyone else is trying to win. I think that's going to be a weird dynamic at the trade deadline
That's
too.
fair. I also do wonder like how much teams lost money during the pandemic. So there's like more of an immediate.
You love to pocket watch.
No, I think it's a it's a key part of this, man. I'm worried about the consumer, but I'm also worried about the producer in this case. No, I sound like Stringer Bell in macroeconomics right now. We're talking about it. You know, the Toronto Raptors are an inelastic product. You can't just put out a weak product and expect people to still come.
The product stepped on this year.
No, the Messiah and Bobby treating this like an elastic product.
No, you're right though. You're right
Uh-huh.
though. There's a lot of teams pushing.
Yeah.
Like I can't name more than like 5-6 teams that aren't trying to actively win. Yeah.
Yeah.
The scoring is interesting too. I was listening to another pod and like Bomani Jones was talking about it too because everybody.
How many pods do you listen to?
Because you know it's a long walk to OMP.
It's raining today. Why are you walking here?
Oh yeah, no, I took the subway. Shouts to the TTC, I guess. But like everybody's trying to like find an explanation for it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And people were saying like, oh, it's explosion because everybody's shooting threes. But when you actually look at the individual box scores of guys who have scored 40, 50, 60, they're not actually hitting a lot of threes in those
Yeah,
games.
like when Pascal hit 52 in the Garden, I think he had like 3 threes
Right.
maybe.
Like it's pure
Yeah, it's
like
like a regular
mid-range,
game.
getting to the basket, free throws and stuff. I think the other thing that they pointed out I thought was interesting is like everybody on the floor now has to be a talented guy.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
whereas like
Except for the Raptors.
yeah, once again, no, yo, come on. Oh
Sorry.
God.
Sorry, we play a lot of non-shooters.
Once, but like 15 years ago, Ben Wallace could be a starting center.
Sure.
And I guess
yeah.
Ben is very extreme because like he was super talented in one
but
area.
It was
right?
kind of common. I hear what you're saying.
Right. Like
yeah.
there's not that like they were even mentioning like a Charles Oakley. Like would Charles Oakley be able to be a starting power forward in today's NBA based on what you expect from the skill set
I mean,
of
they just
someone
play
who
him at
plays?
center, I suppose.
Right?
Yeah.
So like you even look at guys like I think about like JV and even Brooke Lopez, right? Like these guys have really transformed who they are versus when they first came into the NBA.
No, Brook Lopez is one of the all-time chameleons in the league.
Yeah.
I'm calling him chameleonaire because of the way
Yo,
he's able
the
to
references are
transform his
crazy
game.
today, man. All we needed to do is get you out of Raptors land.
You said don't talk about the Raptors, so I'm
Yo,
trying
this
to-
is fire right now.
No, but seriously, he literally like you look at the progression of his career, right? Low post score.
Yo, it's
he was,
insane.
I think he might still be like Brooklyn's all-time leading scorer, or at least like
Yeah.
top 5 in that range. Like he was really just doing that post-up thing for a
Similar to Joe
long
Johnson.
time,
Yeah.
and then he transformed completely into this different player, where it's like pick and pop, but also protecting the basket.
Right,
He's
it's
also
wild.
really changed the way he's played defensively. I think
Yeah.
like a lot of the league's progression, especially at the
Mhm.
center position, can just be tracked in Brook Lopez's career.
Right. But I do agree with you. There's just a lot of talent in the NBA. Like I think the other stat that was brought up was that I think there's like an average of like 2 20-point per game scores like per team right now.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I think there's like 60 plus players averaging 20 plus, which is like ridiculous to think about.
I mean, this is just, I think, the natural way that the game has gone, right? I think definitely the league has wanted more offense involved in the game.
Yeah, it's not like the old days, man. Once they remove the hand checking, you know.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
all the
even just
physicalness.
watch some of the rules. You know, like the help defense rules are like completely different.
Yeah.
You know, like honestly, the help defense rules didn't even make sense to me the way they were called in the 90s. Because like stuff like, oh, you know, if you're posting up below the free throw line and the defender comes over, that's an automatic tech. And I'm like, what?
Yo, the texts are funny, funny. man.
Why is that a tech?
But that's how you had
You
like
know?
Charles Barkley just pounding the ball for like 20 seconds
Yeah.
posting up.
Well, you had like Mark Jackson as a post-up point guard, which is rare. By the way, I confirmed that Brook Lopez is the all-time leading scorer for the Brooklyn Nets franchise.
Do you have like the rest of the list or no?
So he has scored 10,444 points for that team,
Yeah.
which is Not that many for
No.
a franchise lead.
Who else is on that list?
You will never guess who's second place
Not
is.
Joe Johnson?
Brook Lopez has 4 more points than this guy.
Was it the same era as Brook Lopez?
No. I don't know this guy at all.
Derek Coleman? Kenny Anderson?
Buck Williams.
Oh, yeah. Buck
Yeah.
Williams was a problem back in the 80s,
was?
I believe.
Okay.
No, it was a big part of the Blazers championship teams.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyways, talking about 2023. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of factors with the scoring. It's just like, I don't know. Is it that exciting if everybody's dropping 40?
No, it does make it
know
less
what I mean,
exciting
though?
for to some degree. I hear you.
Like, why wasn't there a bigger reaction when Donovan Mitchell had 71?
Yeah, but I mean, this is what happens. Like, I remember when I was doing news aggregation at the Score. Which,
Oh, yeah, war room days.
It was literally the war room days. We had one
Yeah.
of these rules where it was like we would write up a story each time a player hit a triple double, and then we would send an alert to that team, right?
Right.
Because that used to be really special. And then we broke that rule the year that Russell Westbrook averaged a triple double for the season, because it was like we can't just be firing OKC fans a text every single time that he has a triple double, which is every single time he plays, right? So like this is a natural progression of the game, I think, to some degree. And again, I think the talent is at a really, really high level.
Yeah.
There were lots of, like, you look at the Raptors franchise, for example, like lots of the years, our leading scorer or our go-to option was like sophomore DeMar DeRozan or like Andrea Bargnani or like, there were some years where like Mike James was our leading scorer, you know what I mean? Like that level of, like, even the worst teams in the league have scores that are way above those talent levels, right? You look at even Houston, for example. Jalen Green's way more talented of a scorer, even right now in his second year, than any of those guys are just listed.
Yeah, no,
So
it's true. All right, let's get to some of these
all right.
questions. The first one that I had for you is, which team are you more concerned about in the West, the Clippers or the Warriors? So the Clippers are 23 and 24, eighth in the West. Kawhi and Paul George have played 35% of the games together since joining the Clippers in
That's like us
2019.
doing 35% of our pods together since we started the show here.
Well, I was going to call them the direct deposit boys.
Oh, that's pretty good, honestly. I like that.
And meanwhile, the Warriors are 22 and 22.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's aware of their home road splits, where they're 17 and 5 at home and 5 and 17 on the road, getting Steph back from injury, which, if you're looking at, because both teams coming into the season, Warriors clearly defending champs. Clippers are talked about as a favorite every year if they're healthy, and they've not performed to expectations, and they're trying to get out of the play-in right now. Which team are you more concerned about at this point?
I'm not actually that concerned about either team, but I am more concerned about the Clippers, only because at the end of the day, you do know that the Warriors have this like incredible continuity, better than anyone else in the entire NBA, and that they just need to continue to find guys to sort of contribute towards that. Like, the core is really, really solid, right? And we know that. And it's like literally championship proven as of last year. But you need to continue to find more, pieces around that, right? I don't think they really replaced like a Gary Payton, right? I don't even think they really replaced a guy like Otto Porter.
I knew it was gonna
You know what I
come
mean?
up.
So
Yeah.
I think they're finding some answers there. I think, Dante DiVincenzo certainly had a great game when he played the Raptors, but I think, he's sort of more hit and miss. But
Even guys like Anthony Lamb and like
Lamb.
Ty Jerome, like they've contributed.
But I think also a lot of these guys aren't even like veterans who have really proven themselves. So I think the trade deadline is going to be a little easier for the Warriors to sort of find a couple more depth pieces or even buyout guys. Like that's naturally where you would go for some of these teams. Whereas with the Clippers, I don't really see it as like a roster problem or like acquisition problem. They just have, a continuity issue. They have no real identity at all. They just kind of expect that, like, if you put Kawhi and PG out there, that they're going to dominate. But they run into the same issues sometimes. They've been talking about finding a point guard for 3 years. They've been talking about finding a center for 3 years. You would think Bobby and Masai ran that team. No, I'm kidding, man. Well, at least we have point guards.
Yeah. Well, Kawhi's been playing well lately when he's been playing.
I know you got the eye test on Kawhi because the time he came to Toronto, he mailed it in.
Oh, my God.
That was really funny.
That was an all-time performance, man.
Yeah.
He just showed up to work.
Yeah.
Like, he really just showed up. He really proved, I think Blake said this, right? Like, this is how you low manage while you're playing.
Well, there were multiple times, and we were watching this in the booth, and it's one of the rare games where you were more excited in the booth than me, was Kawhi would, like, steal the ball, be on the fast break, and then just slow down.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm moving too fast.
Yeah, he was that Jackie Chan Rush Hour meme. No, and he would just pitch the ball to Luke Kennard and just go stand in the corner. He'd be like, yo, you got this, Luke. You got this, Lukey. So respects to Kawhi. Yeah, I think the continuity thing is a big thing. And I guess, not to bring it back to the Raptors again, when they luckily won their championship
Oh, okay.
in
All right.
in 2019, like they had to navigate this challenge too, right? And
Sure,
for,
but I
for
mean, it
them
was
to be
less
able to
degree, man. It wasn't
no,
two
like
guys at the same time.
this is really extreme.
And they had leadership like structures in place already. And I know, like,
Yeah.
whatever, that season was tumultuous for a number of reasons, but they also had like incredible talent.
Yeah.
This is where I definitely disagree with Norm about like what the talent level was.
Oh,
between
right.
the two
So
teams,
Norm
yeah.
did recently say that this Clippers team is deeper
Yeah.
than the 2019 team. And
I mean, if you line the two teams up in a draft, right, and who you pick,
I would
obviously, like, Kawhi's just going to automatically go to both teams.
yes.
You might even take Paul George ahead of anybody the Raptors had in 2019.
Mhm.
I would give you that. But who are the next like 3 or 4 guys, right?
Right.
I would take Kyle over almost all of those guys.
Yeah.
I would take Pascal over anyone else on their supporting roster.
Mhm.
I'd take Mark over anyone on the supporting roster.
Yeah, and even if deeper
So-
just means there's more guys who could play in the rotation. Like, I don't even think
Yeah.
it necessarily means that they're better. Like, they're
I guess
definitely
Norm
not
is
better.
automatically drafted to both teams as well.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Castleberry, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cass. Yeah, he's part of the direct deposit boys too, man. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you though. Yeah, I think the Warriors are gonna get into the top 6, make a run.
But we've
at some
been saying this
point.
all season, though. Like, why haven't they,
Yeah, they've just been. I actually don't have an answer for why they're so bad on the road.
Their defense just doesn't show up so many times. It's hard to watch.
Is it one of those like championship hangover things where they know they can just
Maybe.
turn it on? But they should
that's-
show a bit more urgency because like
that's the general impression I have with watching so many teams in the league. Like, the
just don't
Raptors are a
have that,
classic
like-
case of that as well.
yeah,
Like, some nights they just don't show up on defense.
right.
You know what I mean?
I think
And
Oren
by
Weiss,
some nights, I mean most nights.
friend of the program, Oren Weisfeld, did present a theory that it's just like this generation doesn't want to work that hard.
What do you mean this generation, bro? He's part of this generation. Oren, I'm calling you out. I know you listen every day. Oren, you're like 25 years old, man. Relax.
So that's one working theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, I don't know. If the Warriors want to make a move at the deadline, they should just move on from James Wiseman, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen him at all
Thoughts?
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, he already speaks Chinese, so.
Oh, my God. Yeah, no, that's true, though. Next up, who goes deeper in the playoffs this year, Brooklyn or Philly?
I mean, I don't see either of them going to conference finals, do you?
I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like
What?
I've downgraded Milwaukee a little bit.
I hear
And
you.
maybe that's
I hear
because
you.
of the injury. Like, obviously, I know Giannis been like Chris Middleton's been out, but I don't look at Milwaukee. I think coming into the season, I was like, oh, Boston and Milwaukee are in their own class, and now I
Yeah.
feel like Boston's in their own class in the East.
Sure.
Where I feel
sure,
like if
yeah, sure, maybe.
Brooklyn is healthy, or even if Philadelphia is healthy, like getting into a series with Milwaukee, like I feel like that could be a toss up.
Well, Chris Middleton is definitely like, we just got to see him on the court consistently playing well, built
Mhm.
into their system.
Because if he's not there, like I like Brooklyn and Philly
I mean,
better.
yeah.
I think.
Even if he's not there, though, I don't know. I just wouldn't bet on Giannis. And I think Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez are clearly at a very high level,
No, that's fair.
especially when they play the Raptors. Sorry, I forgot. I don't know how many shots I've taken at the Raptors at this point.
It's all
But
good.
no, I think with either Brooklyn or Philadelphia, I think they're both like pretty flawed teams.
Mhm.
With Brooklyn, I just don't trust how this would sort of translate into the playoffs when you're sort of scheming against the same team over and over again. There's 2 guys that you can hack a shack
Mhm.
with Claxton and Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
You probably need both of them on the floor to defend a lot of these other teams. But at the same time, offensively, that sort of really puts you in a huge bind, not just with the hack and shack stuff, but because Ben Simmons won't score or look at the rim at all outside of transition. And so it puts a bigger emphasis on KD and Kyrie, who can kind of carry you. But honestly, this is a team where you can probably double both those guys. Philadelphia, I just fundamentally don't trust. I've seen them a lot, obviously, in the playoffs. The Raptors, obviously, I've played them twice.
They're playing well right now. Though.
Yeah, they're playing well right now. That's fine. But I mean, do I trust James Harden in a key playoff moment? I still don't. I understand the overall playoff numbers for
No, I'm
James
with
look
you.
fine, but I mean, come on. And then even with Joel, like I think probably physically, if he can stay healthy for the duration of the playoffs, that would really help. But at the same time, I think that I still doubt a couple more of their pieces. But they've added depth. I think between the two of them, I probably like Philadelphia slightly ahead of Brooklyn.
Yeah, I gotta go with my guy KD, man. I don't know. I know they're struggling a
Yeah,
little
no,
right
I
now
hear you.
because of
I hear you.
injuries, but I think they got a better team around Durant this season, and they've obviously turned it around with Jacques Vaughn, and I think the talent is there. I'd be interested to see if there's like a move that they can make at the deadline, but I don't know. I don't know who's out there that you're gonna add to that team to help.
Brooklyn?
I guess like a defensive Like defensive big. I mean, Nick Claxton's been playing
Claxton's
really
been
well,
amazing,
right?
man.
He's
He's
been
been
playing
really
really
well.
well.
Yeah.
I think the Ben Simmons thing is a big issue.
I mean, I think it's like with Milwaukee, I suppose, with Chris Middleton, who has also really, really struggled. But like, I think it's just about rehabbing these players, getting their confidence and their physique better to the point where they're able to contribute come time for the playoffs. Like in the regular season, they don't have to worry too much. They have enough like supporting pieces, both Brooklyn and Milwaukee, to make sure that they're at the top of the conference and get to the playoffs without a question. But it's about getting these guys rehabbed and ready at that point.
Right.
And I don't know what that kind of point looks like for Ben Simmons, to be honest.
Yeah, James Harden did say recently, told Ramona Shelburne of ESPN that this team is the best chance that he's had to win. He said we had some really good teams in OKC.
How is this true?
And that 18 team in Houston. I think that Houston team was his best chance.
What do you mean? What about when they literally went to the finals with KD?
Yeah.
And Westbrook and Ibaka.
And Kendrick Perkins.
Well, yeah. And Thabo Cephalosha, Derek Fisher, you know what I mean?
Yo, D-Fish in OKC was wild.
Yeah.
No, that Houston team that was up 3-2 on the Warriors.
Yeah.
That's the one team I'll give Daryl Morey credit for.
No, that's fair.
And then the next year they lost to the Warriors, and he requested the league to have Ernst & Young audit the. Remember, he requested an audit. Of the referees.
He said,
I think that's the only time you respected.
Daryl Morey literally said their names are. That's actually amazing. Good for him, man. But
this is not the best team.
No, this is not the best team, though. That's my point.
He was also on a better team in Brooklyn, to be honest, when they were healthy. Come on.
Remember when he was injured and Steve Nash was like, "Yo, go out there and play 45 minutes," and he literally couldn't do anything.
Oh, in the playoffs?
Yeah.
When he was on one leg? Yeah, it looked like it was like a video game glitch.
Yo, it was honestly that.
But he had some crazy stat lines, man. He was like 19 assists.
They won that overtime game, and then Steve Nash hugged Kevin Durant, which is like the legacy of Steve Nash as a coach.
Yeah.
Man, it hurts to say because I really do like Steve Nash.
No,
as a player,
Harden's really funny, man. We have this clip too. John Wall was on a podcast this weekend. He talked about when he got traded to Houston a few years ago. This was his first interaction with James Harden.
When you got traded to the Rockets, talk about the Rockets experience.
Trash.
I already know.
I know. Beyond trash. Like, because I'm going there thinking James going to be there, you know what I mean? Once I get traded.
Yeah.
But he already wants out. When I landed, I'm like, what up, woo? I'm about to land. I go do my conference. He's like, well, I'm on my way to Atlanta for Lil Baby's birthday.
So
he talking about you want to give him a jet? I just got traded here. I can't fuck up. I got to be on good terms. Like, I don't know how the owner is, the GM is. I don't know nothing.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's new. This ain't like I'm in D.C. Am I in D.C.? I'm like, hell yeah, we out.
Right.
It's my show.
Yeah.
This ain't my show over here.
yeah, so he landed in Houston, and this was when Harden already, I think, requested a trade.
Yeah.
And
NBA players are hilarious.
Harden went to
sorry, man. NBA players are hilarious.
Harden also went to party, like I think during the whole training camp, during the trade requests. And this was like in the middle of the pandemic too, like during the shutdown.
Here's my question. Is partying that fun? Like,
I mean,
is doing your job, earning a good salary,
I feel like for
and then
NBA
going home
players,
and taking care of your
I
family,
think for NBA
fun?
players, the lifestyle might be nice, you know?
I don't know if partying's that fun.
But
maybe it's just because I'm like an introvert, but like I can't imagine 3 straight days of partying. One day and then like the rest of the week off sounds good to me.
But there's also stories where they would like Houston would like stay in LA longer and stuff.
Yeah, I mean lots
just,
of NBA
just
teams
for Harden
do that.
and
That's
stuff. But
fine.
like no, like just for James though. Like, but you know, he was worth making those concessions for. And
the rest of the team is like, can we go home to our families? And they're like, no, James.
No, but
James wants to stay.
No, but like, kind of respect Harden in a way where like he was living this lifestyle and putting up like ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, no, I mean for sure.
I mean, he's falling off now.
What do you think of the rumors that James Harden may potentially want to go back to Houston?
Oh yeah, so this was like right before they played the Knicks on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And the report comes out in the morning.
Yeah.
Which
from
was
Woj.
so weird.
From Woj, like not from nobody. From
The
Woj.
timing was just so strange because I thought the Sixers were playing pretty well at the time. Like,
Yeah, they won that night as well.
And now it's like, going into free agency, he might consider going back to Houston. I honestly didn't take it that seriously.
I feel like this is one of the more naked attempts to like create leverage.
Yeah, like
because Philadelphia
he's been ring chasing for the last 2-3 years. Why would he go to Houston?
Well, I think Philadelphia.
Team up with Eric Gordon. they have Gordon's bird rights.
He's like, I miss him, man. No, Eric Gordon's really just trapped in Houston like a prisoner. But for real though, like I think when you thought about the offseason and Philadelphia had a chance to really sign James to a big contract. Obviously, he wasn't coming off a great playoff performance, but they chose not to, right? And there was a whole talk about, he took that 1-year deal and he left enough money and he was unselfish so they can Stanford for PJ Tucker and Daniel House. Unbelievable, man.
They lost 2 picks, right?
They literally fixed the housing market.
They lost 2 picks for that.
But
Which
yeah, I mean, and then
he's not. I don't think.
But I mean, I do wonder if they will eventually, pay James that last big deal, and so he probably does need to create that leverage because where else could he really get it? You know what I mean? I'm not to say that he's not a high quality player still, but like that kind of like longer term max, I feel like Houston will definitely give it to him. But
I think like you mentioned too, though, like it really depends what he's gonna do in the playoffs. Like if he has a really good playoff run, then I think the Sixers just pay up.
The Sixers kind of already they're all in with this squad. What are you gonna say to Joel Embiid? Like, sorry, we just got to move off of James, but in the meantime, here you go. Like, no.
I think this is their last iteration really of building around Embiid.
They can still fire Doc Rivers and keep it going one more year.
Yeah, Doc Rivers.
They haven't had to use that chip yet.
Doc really survived the gauntlet, man. He was under pressure at the start of the season too, when they got off to a slow start.
Yeah, of course.
And then remember Tyrese Maxey came in.
Oh my God, this whole Raptor season has just been one long torment.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to a few more of these.
All right.
Do you think Nikola Jokic is should anyone else besides Nikola Jokic win the MVP right now? Like, are you considering anyone else?
I don't see him as like the runaway favorite. No, and this is
okay.
I watched the game last night. He was awesome down the stretch as he always is. Jamal Murray also stepped up and hit some big shots, which he also has that reputation for. It's weird. Like Jamal will have just like a terrible game and then just come up super clutch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That guy's confidence is amazing. But obviously, yeah, Jokic is leading that team. They're at top of the Western Conference. They have, there's always something about Denver where I'm a little suspicious. They're 21-3 at home. It always makes us feel like, how much is like Denver's win totals like somewhat inflated? You know what I mean? Like what percentage of that is inflated? But regardless, obviously he's playing really fantastic basketball, arguably even better than last year. But I mean, I think there's lots of great candidates across the league. I think for me, probably, especially watching the Nets these days, just like struggle to get anything going without KD. I'm like, damn, KD was really carrying this whole thing. So I think KD still is, for me at least, just feeling in terms of his importance to the team. KD's pretty huge.
I think Jason Tatum's having a really good season, and the Celtics are just like the Nuggets, the number 1 seed.
No, so you got the top 5 betting favorites here. Luka Doncic is in there. Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
All
Tatum. Right. Yeah, old Banter Pod deep reference.
Well, we can't. By the way, we got a great Banter Pod loading for January. When Alex returns from his trip, it'll be the only good positive Raptors content you'll hear.
Oh, okay.
Giannis Antetokounmpo and then Joel Embiid
as well.
All those guys have great cases. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that doesn't even include KD.
Yeah, and Jokic. So Jokic has he's got 10+ triple doubles already this season, and I think right now he's got back-to-back 30-point triple doubles. Yeah. He's got 6 on the season. Last year he had 4. He's got 6 seasons with 10+ triple doubles. Wilt Chamberlain has 2. No, I just see him show up in graphics being compared to Wilt a lot.
Yeah, I hear that. It feels like
it's like a historic. It's really a historic season and a historic run.
No, whenever I watch Denver, which is actually fairly often, they're always on like the late night game, like after I'm like sick of watching the Raptors, and then I switch.
By the way, shouts to Aaron Gordon too, man.
Sure,
He's playing great this season.
That's what OG Anunoby's future is going to be. But like, yeah, like that's for me, like watching those Denver Nuggets games, like no one has a player that can match up with Jokic. Like every single game, I'm like, oh, Jokic has the advantage. You know what I mean? And of course, he's able to throw all those extra passes, and it's beautiful basketball. It's very creative. Even watching their crunch time offense, like, yes, obviously the ball's probably going to flow through Jokic, but, Jamal Murray's also a threat. They'll have just like random guys start to, contribute. Aaron Gordon obviously will be a threat sometimes off a cut. I think he had the game-sealing dunk yesterday where Jokic drove the lane and then shuffled it off to Aaron Gordon. KCP will randomly hit a wing 3 here or there. Bruce Brown will randomly hit a wing 3. All sorts of guys are bringing off the bench. Sometimes I guess they don't really close with Bones that much because he's a defensive liability. But at the same time, he can be really dangerous. It's really hard to guard a team like that. He really unifies them, and he really amplifies them to be better than what they actually are on paper. So, yeah, and I think the reason for that is because he creates the ultimate mismatch. Like I don't who's the best player in the league at guarding Jokic?
I don't even know, man, because his skill set is crazy.
Like if the Raptors played Denver, I mean, we'd probably throw OG at him because that's traditionally who we've used.
Yeah,
but that's not a win for the Raptors. You know what I mean? That's not even like we can guard him in single coverage. Every single team has to double him, and it makes it so easy. Plus, he's also able to just bully his way to the rim so often.
No, he's such a unique player.
Yeah, he's excellent. I mean, if he won MVP again, I wouldn't. I don't care, honestly.
Well, I just think it's super cool that because usually once you win, even once you win one MVP, let alone like back to back, like
Sure,
you're kind
yeah.
of out of consideration just because people just move on.
Yeah, I
And
hear
you want
that.
to pick different narratives. And
Like
like,
LeBron, that happened with LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron really should have won like 6 straight MVPs.
listen, I want to shout out LeBron too, man. Like, obviously, I don't think he's gonna. He might make like the top 5 in voting if the Lakers make a push. Like, he's not gonna win, but LeBron's having a ridiculous season, man.
Yeah, I'm
Like last-
I'm not putting LeBron on the MVP.
No,
though,
but
man.
like
Come on.
even like last 16 games of about 34, 8 and 7. To do it at this age is like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I know they're not a good team,
Yeah.
but yeah, Jokic would be the only other three-peat winners are Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird.
That doesn't matter as much to me, you know. Like I don't.
Because they all played in black and white.
No, I mean, no. Some of
No,
them
but-
did, but like,
I think it's pretty remarkable, to be honest.
no, it's remarkable,
It's
but
like-
it's not like that shouldn't be a reason to not give it to the best.
No,
player,
but no,
right?
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so, and I think it's cool that there hasn't been that backlash because I think he's just played that well. Like he's
Yeah.
playing at that
Also,
level.
I think LeBron really should have won like at least 5 straight.
Well, yeah, like
from
Shaq,
2009,
I always say.
2010, 2011, he lost it because he went to Miami. But I don't think Dwayne Wade was a better. Or I don't think Derrick Rose is a better player.
Oh yeah, he
I
was
think
punished.
Was he also third behind Dwight Howard as well? Like, what are we doing?
he
that
was
year?
punished for being a villain.
He was punished for exercising free agency, and then he won it the next 2 years. He really
Yeah.
should have got MVP all 5 of those years.
This is
the one
always
before that with Kobe and the one after that with KD are fine with
those
me.
are fine.
But 5 straight for LeBron for sure.
Shaq only won 1 in his career.
Yeah,
Like Shaq was the most dominant player
I mean
for
it's
like how many years?
weird because they're obviously very different players, but I think it's probably the same deal. Like, you know, nobody on any team had a singular matchup for Shaq, and so it was
Mhm.
so much easier for him to just impose his will on the game. And I think for Jokic, it's kind of the same deal. So
Yeah. What else, man? Who was the best offseason signing? I guess it wasn't like a
Yo,
crazy offseason. Eh?
I'm happy you put this on because
Yeah.
the offseason was really dry. Because I was thinking about, okay, so if you broke it down into trades and signings, there were some pretty good trades, obviously, right? Donovan Mitchell trade was the best trade in the offseason.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. I would say
Well, maybe the Rudy Gobert one, but we'll talk about that.
the not trading KD trade was probably the second best trade of the offseason.
Yep.
You know, I think there are other minor ones. Even like on the other end of the Mitchell trade, getting a guy like Markkanen back, who has like jumped into like all-star consideration,
Like
this year.
all-star starter consideration, man.
Yeah,
Maybe.
sure.
Like good. I don't think he's gonna get voted in.
No, I know, but I mean,
He's good
like
enough.
he's played really, really well, right? And so you could even argue that that's a really, really great win-win trade as of right now.
Mhm.
But even the minor trades are, you know, around the edges, like trading for a Kevin Herter or like trading for a Royce O'Neal, like these were really good pieces that are really contributing to some top teams in the conference. But yeah, in terms of signings, obviously Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks was a big deal.
Yeah.
It's helped bring the Knicks back to respectability. I think obviously is a huge area of concern for them. But like, who was the second best signing of the offseason? Like, I really struggled to look at this.
Yeah, DeAnthony Melton was a trade, right?
Was it a trade?
Yeah, that's a Danny Green trade, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Brunson's the only one I can think of. If
yeah.
you think about like a signing.
No, I even pulled
Oh,
up like the
free
top signings, like free agent
Who else
signings
was
in the
there?
offseason. I mean, you know,
Was-
Otto Porter was in the top 20.
Was Mason Plumlee a free agent? No? Okay.
No, he's
Yeah.
been there a while, man. What are you talking about? yeah.
I get confused.
Yeah, I don't know. The
Yeah,
best-
Brunson's probably the only one.
It's Brunson, but I don't know who the top 3 would be. You know, like it's a real struggle after that.
Yeah, I guess related too is the Rudy Gobert trade the worst trade of the last 5 years? Last 10 years? So just to
Okay, what's
recap.
in consideration? Yeah.
So, but that's just to recap. The Jazz got Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, which they flipped into Taylor Horton Tucker,
Mm.
Leandro Bolmaro, Walker Kessler, who's been really good for them.
Yep.
Jared Vanderbilt, and then 2023, 2025, 2027 first round picks and the right to swap in
Oh, don't forget
2026 and 2020. Oh yeah, and 2029.
That's not even a swap. That's just an
There's,
outright pick. Yeah.
First grader waiting.
Oh man.
Yeah. And Gobert is under contract for 3 more years. We'll be making $46 million in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty bad. This is definitely among the worst. I mean, it depends on where you stand on the Lakers trading for Westbrook or the Rockets trading for
Yeah,
Westbrook.
but-
I think
okay.
Westbrook was kind of involved in 2 pretty horrible ones.
Yeah. So the first one, Rockets had to give up picks too, right?
Yes.
They
yeah.
moved picks and Chris Paul
Yeah.
to get Westbrook back.
Which ended at a title contender at that time.
Right. But
now,
I feel
that title contender might have been over at that point
Sure.
anyway. The thing is, the next time when the Lakers traded for Westbrook, that also ended another title contender.
yeah. But I don't think those
So-
are as bad
No.
because like Houston was able to get picks back, and we'll see what Minnesota does. And the Lakers, as bad as the Westbrook trade was, yeah, I guess that one is pretty bad. I was gonna say they're off. Like Westbrook is off the books after this season,
Yeah.
but it's still hampered them because they traded away so much depth.
No, but it also traded away for them like flexibility pieces, right? Like if you had instead of like Westbrook, you had Kyle Kuzma, who's really blossomed this year. You know, if you
as
had
well, right?
KCP, if you kept Caruso, I think you were able to like sign those guys into bigger deals, go over the cap, and then you have much more financial flexibility. One of the issues with the Lakers is that like their contract structure is so bad. And it's been this way for a couple of years, especially since the Westbrook trade, where they have 3 guys making the max, 40 million plus. And then they have like 1 or maybe 2 guys at most making like mid-tier salaries. Everyone else makes the minimum. So this makes it almost impossible for you to make a trade.
Yeah, I almost think the Westbrook trade like ended the era of the big threes because like they just took a shot at it and they were like, oh, we're gonna get our 3rd star next to AD and Bron, and it just blew up in their face.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Because that was the team building strategy for a long time.
Yeah,
Let's just get
that was
3
LeBron's
stars
strategy,
no matter
like,
what.
in Miami, right, to start. Well, I guess
mean,
Boston before too.
It was that in Cleveland as well.
Yeah,
Obviously, Boston did it.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, Golden State had like four stars. If you count Draymond.
What about the Cavs having 4 stars? Not the same, man.
What
Not
about
the same. That's 1 star and 3 moons.
What about the Raps?
We have 1 star.
Yeah, the only other one I
And
guess
some
would,
asteroids.
the only other one would be the infamous the Bobby Marks trade that he was involved in. The Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, when the Celtics got a bunch of picks back too, and 2 of those picks turned into Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like that set them back. Like that set them back until they signed KD and Kyrie.
That's pretty bad.
Essentially, right?
That's
So
pretty
I don't
bad.
know. Like Minnesota, well, I guess we'll talk about them a little bit because they're playing the Raptors in the second half of the show, but. You know, they're struggling right now, 22 and 24, and, you know.
Why am I seeing Cole Aldrich, Daquan Cook, and Lazar Hayward in the rundown right now?
Where is this? Oh, this is the other James Harden trade that we didn't even mention, was when Sam Presti traded Harden right after they made the finals in OKC. I thought that was a pretty bad move, too.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was a bad move, not in terms of, like, you know, like OKC obviously got a lot of assets back, but, like, they punted on a chance to have a big 3 with Harden, Westbrook, and KD. They punted that too early.
Yeah, they unnecessarily did that. I
Right.
also think that
Man, Harden's been involved in like 3 like historic trades.
by the way, if the Clippers don't end up doing anything with this run, which seems like they probably won't.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that too, right?
It's in consideration. Like
The
obviously
Shai
at that time it
Gilgeous-Alexander.
made perfect sense, right? It made perfect sense because you were getting PG, which meant you're also getting Kawhi to agree.
Yes, and that's how they always look at the trade, right? Like
Right. But if they
got
ultimately
both.
don't do anything with that and then they're stuck without draft picks for like a decade and they lost Shea, like that could retroactively look pretty bad. Obviously in the moment, you got to judge things in the moment. In the moment it was a fine deal, I suppose.
Yeah. All right, before we take the break,
Yep.
what was one do you have one like preseason prediction that you were extremely wrong about?
The Toronto Raptors? No.
I think we all were.
No.
Chelsea Wongstradamus.
Preseason prediction I was extremely wrong about. I mean, maybe even just like at the start of the season when Brooklyn looked so bad. Like I was basically ready to blow the whole thing up.
I was
you
here
know?
being like, yeah, there's no
I think I was
point
gonna
in
say
keeping
like
this thing
relegate the
together.
franchise. They're despicable.
Oh, okay.
So I think for them to turn it around and to
That
even
was us
briefly,
secretly trying to drive down KD's trade value.
yeah, you know, I know you were down bad.
I'm still down bad.
No, man.
Why didn't
Honestly,
anyone
the not
want
trading for
KD?
KD trade is should be on this list for one of the worst moves in the offseason.
Oh,
That goes
man.
for across the league, I suppose. But I mean, okay, you know, I guess Phoenix Suns. I thought
Oh, okay.
obviously they were going to drop off from last year,
Yeah.
but to see them drop off this significantly, where they're like below 500, and you know, Chris Paul just doesn't look like anything like himself anymore.
Yeah, Chris Paul's
And
definitely.
obviously Booker being injured is a huge factor in this. But to see them fall off, they won like 60 games last year, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they won 64.
Yeah. So
They
right
won
now they're at
64.
21 and 24.
They're
Like,
out of the play-in right now,
Yeah, that's probably the biggest surprise.
and they've
to me.
lost 9 of their last 10. Yeah, that I think I said the Clippers were was going to be the best team in the West.
Everyone did though.
Yeah, I think I
Everyone
picked them
did.
to win the title. Yeah, I picked the Raptors to win 50 plus.
You said 56.
Did I say 56?
Is
Yeah.
56 even mathematically still possible for the Toronto?
They'd have to lose one game the rest of the way.
Mm.
They'd have to go 36-1.
Wow. You're actually right. They're
Yo,
20 and 25.
I might be drawing dead by the weekend.
My goodness, man. Nah, this is legit. Damn.
Anyways,
Yeah.
let's take a break. We'll talk about other things after.
Yeah, I hope everyone is enjoying NBA talk and occasional Raptors slander. So I've been your host, Willou. That's Alex Wong. You're listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Liu. Continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. So we talked a lot of NBA topics in the top half. Let's get back to the Raptors. I think 10 minutes of Raptors talk is appropriate.
Yeah, so the third and final fan voting for the NBA All-Star Game came out today. Pascal Siakam is in 6th place, so I don't think
Still?
he's moved that much.
Yeah,
he hasn't moved,
sixth
right?
among the Eastern Conference front court
amongst the
players.
Eastern Conference front court. Right now, Giannis, Kevin Durant, and Jason Tatum are the top 3, followed by Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler. And Pascal's literally millions of votes away from getting into that, so I guess he'll be selected for the bench.
You think there's any chance he doesn't make the All-Star game?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But you did mention yesterday he's been slowing down a little bit.
It's not that. I mean, it's really just like
The team?
the team continues to really lose, which really does hurt. I don't think historically there's that many players who are on from 11 seeds like make the All-Star game. I mean, to be clear,
Nah, I
he
mean-
absolutely needs to make the All-Star game. He's been that
Yeah,
good.
he'll be there. He'll be there.
But it's really a question of like, do the Knicks get 1 All-Star? Do they get 2 All-Stars? I mean, getting 2 All-Stars from the Knicks would be just
Brunson and
outrageous.
Randall?
Yeah, no, man. I don't see
Randall's
Randall
going to jump to the peak of his jump shot and then make a pass.
Yo, he's really
By the way, if you
terrible
have
at that
time,
pass.
look up the game when the Knicks were here, I think during the homestand.
No, just watch the whole game. Of
No.
what Randall was
Watch the
doing.
final possession. Pull up League Pass. Watch the final
Okay, yeah, I know
possession
what you're talking
with
about.
5 seconds left. When Randall just randomly threw the ball to Jalen Brunson and just hit him in the face, like at the buzzer.
For no reason,
Of like
yeah.
the game was already done. Anyways, no,
But
I
it's
don't think
like-
the Knicks are sending 2.
Okay, but are the Cavs getting 2? You know what I mean? Like, is Milwaukee going to get 2? Because that can really sort of, it depends. Some coaches are like that, like they're going to vote 2 guys to the top couple teams, and then
Sure.
they'll pick from the rest. If they do that, there's a slight chance Pascal doesn't make it, but I think Pascal will make it.
I think Pascal will be there.
Yeah.
I think I'd be pretty upset if Pascal didn't make it. I think he's more than
No, listen,
earned it.
at minimum, because this season is not on him at all. Like, if there's one person who has no stink on him at all, it's Pascal. But yeah. Also, like, coaches, the way you guys be double teaming Pascal, if you're gonna double team him like that and you don't vote him to the All-Star game, you guys are just haters, man. Like, there's no way. Like,
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
21 days until the trade deadline. Trying to find a tidbit every day for you.
okay.
Today,
What's the latest?
Doug Smith of the Toronto Star
All right.
said, quote, it would take at least 2 promising players on team-friendly deals and a pick to pry OG Anunoby away.
New Orleans got that?
So who are the 2 promising players?
I mean, they got lots of promising players.
Dyson Daniels?
Sure, that's one of them.
Yeah. Don't say Devontae Graham. Yeah.
Uh,
'Cause that ain't team-friendly. That ain't
we
friendly
really have
to-
the smallest backcourt in the league
That
with
ain't friendly
Devontae
to
Graham,
anybody.
Fred VanVleet, and Malachi Flynn.
You know what? If they put that pick that they've got from the Lakers on the table
Yeah.
for anybody, maybe.
I mean,
Because then you would assume then the Raptors have 2 lottery picks, right?
by the way, like, again, like, here's the thing. It sounds like a lot, but you have to look at it from the other side. If you're the Pelicans and you can go into the playoffs and you can roll out starting 5 of CJ McCollum, OJ Anunoby,
Due to Tampa.
Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and like whoever else you really want to put in
Yeah.
there, like Herb Jones, if you want to
Yeah.
go smaller, if you want to go JV in the middle,
No, you can beat
you
anyone
go
in the
Larry
West.
Nance if you want to
Yeah.
go more flexible. Like, man,
Mhm.
that's a tough team to score on and also defend against.
Yeah. No, we didn't even get to that topic, but it was like I was going to
Yeah.
ask you like who in the West
No, I mean, look,
was
I
a
like
favorite
that. This
for you?
is the kind of deal, and I think maybe in the offseason, obviously, it's probably easier to trade anybody in the offseason
Mhm.
just because teams are much more clear in terms of what they're building for.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a player like OG, like, he's so plug and play for most rosters
Mhm.
that it wouldn't be like trading for a huge star and then having to have them acclimate midseason before you go on a run. Like
Yeah.
the way people are trading for OG probably be like the way the Raptors traded for Marc Gasol. Like they brought him in, they knew he was going to fit a role, and then you knew that he could fit that role really quickly and reliably.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Well, I think the other thing too in the
obviously
offseason,
OG's like a decade younger than when Mark came here, but
in the offseason too, you have certainty on some of these picks too, right? Like maybe
Sure,
after the
yeah.
draft lottery, you see exactly where that Lakers pick that the Pelicans have, and maybe they're willing
Yeah.
to shop it.
Yeah.
And you can talk about packages there. So
fair.
we've gone from a Donovan Mitchell-like package to 2 promising players and a pick. So maybe
I mean,
it'll be OG for a shooting big by next week.
Oh man, you know what? John Collins was looking good yesterday in that win for
I
Atlanta.
want to see OG for John Collins just to see the
No,
discourse.
man. No, man.
Just for
come
the
on,
discourse.
no,
Can we
no.
make one trade just for discourse?
Okay. Can we just all pull up after the show is done? Can we all just look up John Collins kicking the hell out of a paper mache airplane
What?
during the dunk contest? That was one of the.
I don't
No,
remember
the dunk
this.
contest has been going downhill, but like,
I don't
man, when
remember
he
this.
kicked that airplane,
don't
that
remember this at all.
biplane. My goodness, man.
Yeah. Before we get to
This guy went from Amelia Earhart to Amelia Earhead.
all right, now it's time
Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing.
for mute your mic, man. Now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. The Toronto Raptors are in Minnesota tonight in the most disappointing team of the season bowl against the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Injury report: Anthony Edwards is out, I believe, or questionable. Anthony Edwards is questionable.
Let me give you the
correct?
full injury report right now.
Okay.
This is from ESPN. Karl Anthony Towns is out.
Yep.
Jordan McLaughlin is out. Rudy Gobert, questionable. Anthony Edwards, questionable. That was surprising me because I watched him at the end of the game yesterday. I don't know what was going on. He had a bad game, though.
Lost to the Nuggets yesterday.
Austin Rivers, questionable for podcasting. And then Torian Prince is day-to-day, even though I saw him in the game yesterday.
That's like a whole 8-man roster.
That's 7 guys who are probably all in the rotation when healthy. So maybe not Rivers, but
yeah, look at so they're playing D'Angelo Russell tonight.
I mean, some of these guys they're
okay.
You would expect them to be in, but this is a hard one.
Sure.
To
so the
peg just
Raptors,
based off
because of
that.
all this, the Raptors are -5. They're 5-point favorites on the road. Some stats for you before you pick.
Okay.
So Raptors are 30-5 in their last 35 meetings against the Timberwolves.
It feels like that, yeah. It does feel like that. Although some of the recent ones have been pretty hard. They've had to pull off some comebacks. Ever since Finch went over there, it's been a little dicey. And also the time that Anthony Edwards ended Utah's life. I think that was the 8 out of 9. The one miss was that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Well, I mean, we don't talk about the fact that he stepped out of bounds.
Wolves have lost 5 of their last 6. Yo, when someone has a legendary dunk, you can't be like he was out of bounds.
He stepped out of bounds. I don't care.
Wolves have lost 5 of their last 6 against the Eastern Conference.
Sure, yeah.
The Raptors, let's see, they're coming off their second game allowing 130-plus points this season, and their 10th game this season allowing at least 120.
How many of those 10 have been in the last month and a half?
Maybe the reason why scoring is up because the Raptors' defense exists. Yeah. Have we thought about that? Might be a theory.
What am I going to do, man? Pick the Raptors? Of course I'm going to pick the Raptors.
He's picking the Raptors, -5.
Yeah. But this is real tricky, though. I would wait until closer to tip-off. Like, usually an hour
reports.
and 30, maybe even 45 minutes before tip, you'll know for sure what
tip-off is
the
8 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Yeah.
I would also look at the Raptors' 6-14 record on the road.
And they just won in New York, though.
What about the one after that? We just cherry picking now?
I don't know, man. I'm trying to be positive.
This guy said they just won in New York. Like they didn't throw up an egg in Milwaukee. What's going on? So Raptors -5 is the pick.
I mean, look, the Raptors should win. Like, genuinely, they should win.
Yes, but you have said this
I've been saying
many
this
times.
all season. You're right.
Raptors have the 5th worst record in the NBA since December 9th.
Yeah.
Only teams.
No, this is the worst chart I've ever
Only
seen
teams
in the document.
Worse than them are Houston, Charlotte, Detroit, and the Phoenix Suns missing their best player, Devin Booker.
Yeah.
So that was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. We'll be here to recap the game tomorrow. You want to talk about how hard it is to tank? Because a lot of people.
Well, I just want to look at. I just want to look at like what our situation looks like if they move in that direction. So we'll look at the percentages tomorrow. And I think you have prepared like a really great part of research, which I was very pleased to see in the rundown today.
Yeah,
we didn't have time to like fully get to it, but there's a full referee report coming tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the Their Names Are segment.
That's pretty good.
So because you mentioned Evan Scott the other day.
Yeah, give us a tidbit.
Their names are.
And I didn't know. Well, I don't know if people know you can like read their whole profiles on the website. I actually don't want to give you any tidbits. We got to just save it for the segment.
Oh, we're rationing? Okay, all right.
No, it's not even rationing. Well, okay. Evan Scott's favorite meal is steak and asparagus.
Yeah, that's
and his favorite TV show is Sports Center. That's me having ESPN as my homepage on the internet.
That certainly sounds like a man named Evan Scott.
Anyways, we'll dive into some of this ref report. It's actually pretty interesting.
Okay. That does it for us today. I'm your host, Will Lou. You've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Thanks again to producer and co-host Alex Wong. Thanks to our board producer, Derek Brandeo, Jennifer Olnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. And we'll be back tomorrow.